Oh,
From
found any
Microbe
nutritionist.
TV, this is Q&A with A&V. I'm Vincent Racaniello, and joining me tonight from Chevy Chase, Maryland, Amy Rosenfeld. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Vincent. How are you tonight?
I'm very well. And yourself? How are you?
Fine. Jan T, this says this is her last live stream for quite some time. What does that mean? Why
I don't know.
She's your friend.
Maybe she's traveling. Could you lower your camera a bit?
You just told me to raise. Now I
but
lower, then I raise. Now I lower, then I raise.
Yeah.
It's like a seesaw.
Didn't do anything. You have to hold the back and bend the camera. You need two hands to do it. But not too much. Now it's too much. I'm sorry to be a pita. There you go. Okay.
Pita?
Then you get it, and then you
Would you like
down.
some hummus with it? Would you like some hummus with that?
Oh yeah. You see, then you slouch down, and so it's too schmageggied. I'm sorry to be a pita.
No, you're not.
That's good. Thank you very much. Okay, folks, welcome back to a Wednesday night of Virology. Sorry to miss you all.
It's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday. I'm all messed up. We missed last week because I was in Manchester, England. So let me show you a few pictures from Manchester at a meeting. I was at the, it's the wrong one, the European Society for Clinical Virology. Very nice meeting. I enjoyed it very much. And at that meeting, two listeners took me to dinner. They had arranged it ahead of time. So this is Adrian and Oksana. And this was on what night? I guess it was Wednesday night.
Well, it had to be Tuesday night.
It couldn't be Tuesday because I went to eat on my own on Tuesday. So she came 2.5 hours on a train just to have dinner, and Adrian drove 15 miles or so. I just really appreciate this idea that people want to thank us for what we're doing. I think we have a unique little community here, and this is just part of it. Of course, all of you are part of it as well, and so I'm very impressed and humbled. And then at the meeting, I did a TWIV with Emma Thompson. She's from the University of Glasgow. This is her third TWIV. And she has found that the kids with pediatric hepatitis appeared to have adeno-associated virus 2 infection. So hopefully I can release that TWIV on Sunday. I was able to get the video from them. It's really interesting. And then finally, okay, so the last night, Friday night, I'm leaving the banquet, and this young woman runs after me. Says, Vincent, can I have a selfie with you? Sure. She takes a picture. She said, my name is so-and-so. I listen every time to TWIV, probably not this live stream. And I said, okay, well, I'll say hello to you next time. And she says, no, you'll forget me right away. I said, okay. So I took a picture of her badge. So here she's from Belgium. You don't get to see her, but you see her name, Elke. So if you're listening, hello, Elke. Nice to meet you that night briefly. And I'll shout you out on TWIV again. So great trip. And tomorrow I'm off to Little Rock, Arkansas to give a talk at the Marie Chow Memorial Symposium. Marie Chow was a postdoc with David Baltimore around the time I was there and died a few years ago. So they have a memorial symposium for her every year, and this year I'm the keynote speaker. So looking forward to that. And tonight we have moderators as usual. Let's see, I saw Steph, I saw Tom, and I saw Vanity Nutrition. Did I see anyone else? I don't think so. And Vanity, I hear you are ill, so hopefully you're feeling better. Sorry to hear that.
I thought this was the first Marie Chow symposium.
No, it's the second. Second Marie Chow symposium. Thank you all for being here, and thanks everyone for coming on an odd night. Tomorrow I'll be in Little Rock, so I couldn't do it tomorrow. I had to record Daniel's update last week from Manchester. The hotel internet was awesome. It's just 120 megabits per second up and down. for a hotel, that's just amazing. Wi-Fi, amazing. So it went well. We'll see what the Marriott in Little Rock is tomorrow, because I have to do it tomorrow when I get in, because the next day I'll be busy. Anyway, Doreen says, wonder if you'd ever care to say a bit more about your father's connection with William Carlos Williams. I can't. I don't know anything more. So, they both worked in the Passaic, Patterson area. They were both local physicians. William Carlos Williams' son was also a local physician, and that's all I know. And my father died in 1984. So my mother's also gone. So no way to get any information, unfortunately, although it would be interesting. I guess I could get it if I worked hard, but I don't think it's happening. Has anyone seen any data that quantifies spike? Oh, I have to do something else first before I continue, but let's answer this. Comparing spike in vaxxed versus virus. Have you seen such data, Amy?
Comparing spike what?
Spike protein. I don't think so. But
between the amount that you make when you're vaccinated and the amount that's on a virus particle?
I would say in a virus-infected person, probably.
No.
No,
I don't know. I don't know what that would. I don't know how you would do that experiment. What I'm going to learn from it.
I would say it's much higher in an infected person than in a vaccinated person. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know what I'm going to do with that information.
Well, he said in a bit. He said, I thought that might be a way of silencing those that claim spike from the vaccine is causing deaths.
No.
It's not causing deaths. It's quite clear that it's not. I don't know why you would claim it is. Anyway,
because you can say whatever piece of crap you want.
Yeah, that's right. You can say whatever you want. And unless you're here on this live stream.
Oh, Les is here. Isn't Les a moderator?
Les. Yes. Thank you, Les, for moderating. Hi. Hello, Les. I wanted to make two announcements. Forgot to do this before. First, let's see, turn on the screen share. There you go. Amy Rosenfeld.
That's me.
At the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Review at the FDA is looking for a research assistant. Her work is elucidating the mechanisms of cross-species anti-enterovirus antibodies, how that affects virus pathogenesis. So this assistant will work on picornas like Entro68, polio, human rhinoviruses, genetic, biochemical, cell-based studies for understanding multiple aspects of immune dysfunction associated with infection. You'll carry out experiments in cell culture, participate in the development of a small animal model for studying aspects of virus infection, including tissue-specific cellular immune response. All of this is under BSL 2. You need a bachelor's degree in science, educational emphasis or strong background in molecular biology or cell biology and immunology, preferred experience with mammalian cell culture and virology is desired. Previous experience is required. Courses equivalent to a bachelor's degree is acceptable. You can send your CV to amy.rosenfeld@fda.hhs.gov. Go for it, folks. Listen, Amy needs help to move this awesome program of hers forward. Okay. The other announcement I'd like to make is from a company called Vaccinated. You can find their website at vaccinated.us. And they sell in their Spike Shop. So go to vaccinated.us and click on Spike Shop. I think that's a great name for the store. They have spike protein designs that they build onto their T-shirts. And so you have these three designs, and then you can have a plain spike, you can have Vax Gratitude, vaccinated.us, and you can pick different styles there. And you put it in your cart. And then when you go to check out, you put in the promo code Microbe TV. And the company, Vaccinated, will donate 100% of proceeds from sales of Spike shirts to Microbe TV for the month of September. How awesome is that, right? And Matt of
Cool.
Vaccinated
It's
contacted me. He said, we want to do this for you because we love what you're doing. So go buy T-shirts and 100%. It's not like 10% or 20 or 30. It's 100% of the proceeds are going to Microbe TV. Thank you, Matt of Vaccinated. Month of September. That's where we're in now, and we're already 13 days in. So if you want a Spike shirt, Spike Gratitude. So, what is this about? They are, the Spike, the molecule of the year that saved millions of lives and allowed people of conscience to come out of isolation during the century's most deadly global pandemic. So they're really into Spike. So that's cool. Those two things. So go apply for Amy's job and go get some Spike T-shirts. Okie dokie. Oh, hello, Laura. Kip and Laura.
Ooh, Kip and Laura, they're coming to the incubator thingy
Open house.
with Emma, their daughter.
That's cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet.
Well, you met them already, right?
I know, but I haven't met Emma.
Emma. You're going to tell her all about New York because that's where she's living now, right?
I know. She's living in our old joints on the Upper East Side.
What are your thoughts on CDC recommendation to give bivalent boost 2 months after the second boost in over 50-year-olds?
2 months is too close. Not good.
It's better than 3-4 weeks, though, right?
Yeah, but still not good enough.
What would you do? How many months would you do? 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always a toss-up between optimal antibody generation and not getting infected, right?
What are you talking about? You already got immunity from the first 3 boosters. So
2 boosts. So here it is after the second boost.
So you've gotten 4 shots. You have plenty of immunity.
Yeah, that's true. So I think it should be longer to help it round out more. I agree with that. But they didn't ask us, right?
Nobody ever asks us. They know better.
Okay, here's Frank. Are you sure that when you were on the Andy Slavich show? So I was never on the Andy Slavich show. And I never will be because I just realized they actually don't want experts. They don't know who the experts are. Okay? So it's fine.
Well, they had a polio show, and they talked to the epidemiologist from Stanford, and who was the other person? I forgot.
The New York State Department.
Oh, yeah, the New York State Health Department, which is appropriate, but
Yeah.
the other one, not so good.
I think they should have had a virologist on. I had offered. When was I? When was he on TWIV? Was it August?
August 17th.
So that was before he did the polio show. So he knew because I emailed his PR person.
Well, he might have lined it up because it was like 7
That's
days
true.
after you were on, after he was on. So he might
Anyway.
not have. They might not have known what you do because he didn't research anything that we do.
Are you sure you didn't mention that vaccines just prevent serious illness and death? Because I thought you did. So we mentioned, he said we never said it on TWIV, but of course he's never listened to TWIV. So we did say it. Many listeners have written in telling us when we said it. It was early in 2020. Amy has said it early in 2020 in the live stream.
I said it first.
Yes.
You guys were the copycats.
Yeah, we always copy Amy.
Yes, you do.
I mean, emulating a good thing is a good thing, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, it's fine. Emulation is the highest form of flattery.
There you go. And so, yes, we did say it early on, and it's a puzzle, this Andy Slavitt, but, I just think he doesn't want to have real experts. He doesn't know who they are. That's the thing, maybe. He doesn't know who they are. Okie dokie. Here's a joke about hydrogen. It is positive even if it is in a bit of a pickle.
I don't get it.
Ba-dump. It's positive.
Okay,
Positively charged, right?
it's an electron. Or a proton. It's a proton. Sorry, it's a proton.
It's a proton,
Yeah.
right. Vanity tested positive the day after the last Q&A, which is almost 2 weeks ago. Still symptomatic and still, as of yesterday, testing positive. What kind of symptoms did you have, if you don't mind telling us? Yes, this residual RNA, sure. Yeah, well, I hope you get better. I hope you feel better. Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Oh, yes, here she is. This is my last live stream for quite some time. So what is quite some time? Is it like a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years, forever? Quite some time is just not quantitative enough. Yeah?
Well, it has a negative connotation.
Yes, it does. What do you think of Nick Lane's theories about the origins of life on Earth? Yes, so I like Nick Lane very much. For example, the origin of the cell is a proto-metabolism powered by a charged membrane. Yes, so his idea is that down at the bottom of the ocean floor, these towers, these smoking towers, had proton gradients because of the nature of the water inside and the seawater outside. And I really like that idea.
How'd we get the water?
What do you mean?
Where'd the water come from?
Well, it's at the bottom of the ocean, so there's seawater on the outside, and its pH
Okay,
is
never mind.
different from the water on the
Yeah, I
inside, which
know.
comes from the core of the Earth, and so you make a proton gradient, and that generates energy, right?
Yeah, I know. It's how we generate energy, right? Through that. Isn't that the whole purpose of the mitochondrial inner membrane, is to make a proton gradient to generate energy that's captured by ATP?
Yeah.
Hmm? 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 Hmm?
Now,
You act like I was not a biochemist.
Doreen also tested positive. Now, look at this. As Dr. Griffin advised, already had a COVID plan, positive antigen 8 a.m., video doc visit before 12, first dose of Paxlovid 2 p.m. That's
Great.
the way it needs to be done. Don't
Perfect.
let's wait and see. That's why people die, because you wait and see. Good job, Doreen.
She's going to Italy. The lady's going to Italy.
Yeah, for how long? How long do you need to go to Italy? A month, that's enough. And don't they have
Really?
internet?
I could go for longer and not come back.
Yeah, so when we do this, it is, what is it, 2 a.m. in Italy? So you don't
I
want to
don't
stay up
know.
to
I've
2
never
a.m.?
been.
So you could actually do it, Jan. You could do it, but it's fine. I heard today that the CDC or WHO is recommending polio boosters for all adults. Is this true?
Yes.
In the U.S.?
Everywhere.
I totally disagree. Do you disagree? Oh, you can't say because you work for the government. Sorry. All right. I won't ask you.
Not only that, but I have some discussions, or my group has discussions with various other people. So.
Okay. So here's the thing, folks. Polio has been in the sewers for 20 friggin' years. Okay?
Only?
They now look and they find it, and so now they recommend you to get a booster. If you needed a booster, you needed it 20 years ago. This is totally absurd. Go get a booster. It doesn't hurt. But I think this is crazy. You don't need it. Immunity to polio is lifelong. Albert
Well,
Sabin
otherwise
would be,
you can't eradicate. You couldn't have had an eradication plan, because that's point 2 on the eradication plan. Can you review the eradication plan, please? Because many people, including you, have gotten it wrong. So we need to review.
What would you like to review? What would you like to
number
review?
1 for eradication plan, what? Human are the only host, right?
Uh-huh.
Number 2, lifelong immunity.
Correct.
Number 3, everybody has to have symptoms.
Yeah, no asymptomatic infections. Right.
And you have to have symptoms when you are shedding virus or prior to shedding virus, so that you can monitor. You cannot shed before you have the development of symptoms.
Can I make a little modification of this asymptomatic thing? I would say asymptomatic infections do not contribute to epidemiological spread.
I disagree with that.
You do?
Yes.
All right, why not? What if they don't make any contribution to epidemic
They make a
spread?
huge contribution to epidemic spread. 90% of polio infections are asymptomatic. Therefore, they
Yes,
are
yes.
the driver of
For polio, they
epidemic
do. We're
spread.
talking about generally for eradication, which of
Therefore,
course.
yes,
Okay,
they
so let's
make
say you have a virus.
the only one that you can eradicate is smallpox because there are no asymptomatic infections.
So some people believe there are, but they do not contribute to epidemic spread.
Well, you look at it because
Okay.
smallpox is already eradicated, and monkeypox is not the same. So it's
Yeah,
a
I know.
mute question on
But
smallpox.
anyway, I don't know why now they're deciding to make everyone boost. They should have been looking in the sewers, but I already said that, so that's enough. Okay. Do you think we will continue to use mRNA vaccines for all future vaccine requirements?
No,
No, not all. Is this the quickest way to produce and deploy new vaccines? Not
no.
necessarily. There are other quick ways. Making the protein is also relatively quick. It should be. Novavax didn't make it quickly, of course. They had other issues. Their adjuvant was from some tree that they couldn't find or something, Amy. Is that right?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
But
I
it's not going to
lost
work
interest.
for all applications, and we'll learn by trying, right? We'll learn by trying.
Okay. Who is
Wait,
this
wait,
Eric
wait. Don't say
Birnbaum?
something. Don't say that. It's probably going to be removed by the mods, okay? So don't mention it because that'll just highlight it, all right?
Okay.
Of
It's still obnoxious. It's
course.
not even true.
No, it's not true at all. Sorry about the Tuesday, but you know why. Next week we'll be at the regular nice Wednesday time. Hope Vincent enjoyed the city of my birth, Manchester. So I didn't get around Manchester much. So I stayed right near the convention center, and that area is very nice. They have nice trams running back and forth through there. And that whole area.
So they were on strike.
No, the trams weren't on strike. Nice coffee shop, Black Sheep Coffee, really good. Anyway, it was cool.
Is that where you got the espresso or the cappuccinos in the morning?
I got the espresso in the Manchester train station, and Pete, tell me why in the public areas there are no garbage cans. Is that because of terrorist worries? They don't want to have bombs going off in the garbage cans? Because in the train station there are no garbage cans, so everyone leaves their junk on the seats, and then someone has to come and pick it up. And there are none on the streets either.
Oh.
So I enjoyed it very much. I was there in 2015, and I got around much more, and it's really a nice city, very nice. Should Evusheld be used as a booster dose for people who had untoward effects after an mRNA vaccine? No, it's not. It's not a vaccine, so you don't get a boost from it. What if you had a problem with mRNA vaccine? You could try a different vaccine like Novovax, right, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Doreen, how was the Paxlovid? Did you have that funny taste in your mouth after taking it? A lot of people do. Let us know. 2.5 years into the pandemic, my PCP would not see me in person because I'm congested. Makes me think only healthy people get the privilege of physical assessment.
I think that must be subjective, right? Because I think Daniel sees people.
Yeah, he does. He's vaccinated. He wears a mask when he sees patients, and as Daniel say, there's not just COVID out there. It could be something else, right? So the question is, Patricia,
Really, there's something else out there?
Yeah,
there's another virus in the world. Oh my God!
So Patricia, if you had influenza, would your PCP not see you in person? Probably they would, right? So yeah, it's a little crazy. Israeli study claimed early in COVID mRNA vaccine double vaccine had far less shortness of breath. Yeah. So this study has concluded that vaccinated people who get infected have a 80% less chance of having shortness of breath and other long COVID symptoms, right?
I don't know. I didn't read it yet.
But, it's subject to the same caveats that we bring up all the time, and that is that you ask 15, 20 different questions. What kind of a diagnostic is that? How accurate is it for long COVID? I don't think it's accurate. But as we progress, maybe we'll get better at it.
Well, how are we going to measure shortness of test? Give everybody a stress test and a whatever breathometer or something?
Oh, I think you need to find some diagnostic marker. Okay? Can you do that, Amy? No, you're not.
Sure,
You're
in my
working on.
spare time. In my spare time on my other, in my other arm of my lab.
By the way, there are post-acute enterovirus symptoms.
Yeah, I know. Really? You think I didn't know?
No, I'm just saying it to make the point. Are there any promising medications coming out to treat COVID in 2022 or 23?
Not that I'm aware of.
So we're not aware because it's quite secret. But at a meeting last year, someone at the retrovirus meeting. When did I go to that the reverse transcriptase? April of 20.
This year,
2020. So a man who knows a lot about antivirals said, "Oh, there are some gangbuster antivirals coming out." So we'll see. They're working on them, and you know why? Because this is with us to stay, right? So a lot of companies can get in on the act, and they are. In 2 episodes back with Daniel, he quoted from K. Anthony Appiah, philosopher. I don't know how to pronounce it. I was at school with him doing the same science classes. We were lab partners in our genetics biology exam project. That's cool.
Cool.
I think it's cool or interesting when you're with someone at a young age and then they go on to do something that has global implications, right? Because we don't all do that. And I was a postdoc, and Andy Fire was a graduate student at MIT. And then at the age of 40, he won the Nobel Prize. Holy cow, I used to see him running around all disheveled. Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Mitchell says, my sister tested positive for COVID-2. I love it that you didn't say she tested positive for COVID. I emailed with her while she was antigen positive. A few days later, I just developed a sore throat. I'm wondering if the virus traveled from her computer to mine and infected me. I appreciate your sense of humor.
Yeah,
your sense of humor. It could be
psychosomatic. What's the word I'm looking for?
Sympathetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could have gotten something from somewhere else. But I appreciate the humor. I think it's great. Wonderful. Pavlovid rocks except Paxlovid mouth. They tasted like I ate an old train wheel. How do you know what an old train wheel tastes like? That's like in the first Harry Potter.
She's using a metaphor to say she had bad taste.
Pro tip, cinnamon gum, hot tamales, cinnamon candies. That's like the first Harry Potter movie. The old guy, what was his name? The old man.
Dumbledore?
Dumbledore. He eats one of the jelly beans at the end. And he goes, earwax. And I'm like, how does he know what earwax tastes like?
Okay.
You know, I appreciate the humor tonight. Environmental has a guest from Colorado. Actually, his partner on the channel. They have their own channel. I guess we're going to listen as we dine. Maybe your partner there can listen, right?
Yeah, maybe it's a new listener.
What can we expect with reinfections with regard to sequelae long COVID? Will the incident rate decrease?
Yes.
I think it'll decrease as we learn more how to assay it properly. And of course, there's also the thing that maybe as time goes by, many of these symptoms will reverse on their own, right? We're hoping that can happen.
I'm sure it will.
By the way, speaking of long COVID, did you see the article which Daniel mentioned last week where they just talk about, or maybe the week before, all the other long symptoms after other virus infections. It's not just long COVID, right? But this is emphasized now for obvious reasons. But it happens after many virus infections.
Yes, I saw.
With around 400 COVID deaths a day in the U.S., I assume most of them have previous infection.
No.
Yet, not all of them do. And many of them are not vaccinated as well. Yes, and some are immune compromised. And some are over 75 and have been vaccinated.
They also had tremendous morbidities, comorbidities.
Comorbidities, yes. So they have comorbidities. Now, Daniel, so in fact, it may be hard to save their lives, but Daniel insists that many of the 400 could be saved if they were treated early on with monoclonals or Paxlovid. Because to this day, there are physicians who say we have to wait and see what happens, or we're gonna. I don't believe in Paxlovid, etc. Which, if you see Daniel's expression when I read one of these emails, you know he's very frustrated with that.
Really, I didn't know medicine was a religion and a belief system.
I understand in 2009 you did experiments on the possible inhibition of rhino replication by zinc. I was wondering what your thoughts on this topic are now. So here's the story. Amy came to the lab in what, 2015?
14.
14. I said, can you finish up these zinc experiments? And what did you find?
I forgot.
You want me not to remind you?
No, you can remind me.
There was no inhibition. There was no inhibition. It was the zinc solution had a low pH, remember, and that was inactivating the virus. So I don't think there's anything to it. Any new papers from Sequelae in the works? I'm sure there's always new papers in the works. Major epitope changes with BA5 versus Delta and others. I don't think there are major T-cell epitope changes, right? Right, Amy? Still the story.
Mm-hmm.
Mark's mom is in the hospital. Contracted
Not good.
COVID. Had 3 shots already and asymptomatic despite her advanced years. Vaccinated patients on the ward had far less symptoms or none. Vax works, I guess. Well, I'm glad she's asymptomatic, Mark. That's great.
I think it's good preventative or proactive to prevent any severe complications from developing.
Fox in the Snow says, I remember you saying it prevents disease and death, not infection in 2020. That's right. Paul Offit's still going to be a guest. Yes. What's the date for that, Amy? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
It's either the 23rd or the 30th. I remember towards the end of September. He's definitely coming on. Yeah, absolutely. Here you go. This is for Amy. UK study, only 5% of 4 vaxxed in hospital compared to 39% 3 vaxxed. We are stuck with this particularly immunosenescence, which may start at 50.
Okay. What's the question?
I'm not sure what the numbers mean, frankly. They're a little I don't know what you're saying. Only 5% of 4 vaxxed compared to 39%.
So basically what he's saying is that in the hospital, the patients, so if you took a pan of 100 people who were in the hospital, 5 of them would have had 4 vaccines and 39 of them would have had 3 vaccines, and maybe the remaining portion would have been unvaccinated. Okay, fine. I don't know what I'm going to do with this information.
I think there is an issue with immunosenescence at advanced stages, but we're not sure.
Well, exactly. There is, but there's also, did everybody make antibodies? How do I know that everybody had a T-cell response to the vaccine? I mean, there's a lot of caveats to just being vaccinated. Just because you are vaccinated doesn't mean you're always going to be protected. I mean, for instance, I've been vaccinated like 11 times against measles, and I have no measles antibodies. So wow. If I went to the hospital and they asked me if I was vaccinated and I had contracted measles, I would say yes. So they would put a check saying a vaccinated person developed measles, right? But they would never test to see whether or not the vaccine elicited the response that they had wanted, right? So
Yes,
What am I supposed to do with this? No.
not,
So what are you supposed to do with this number
well,
or this information? I don't know what you're
it's an
supposed to do with
average.
it.
It's an average. Many of those people are going to make responses, so it's an average.
Okay, fine.
So Jan's going to Italy for 7 weeks. Okay. Well, enjoy. We'll see you in 7 weeks. Environmentalism.
Maybe she can send us stuff from Italy. I
I,
take Chiantis and Barolo's particularly.
environmentalism moderate on debunk the funk. Yes, they like TWIV also. I'm going to get one of those guys on TWIV one of these days. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the Environmental Coffee House should tell them to come and write to TWIV and say when they're available,
Oh,
since
he has.
he is a moderator.
I got the email. I'm ready to go. I need to just do it.
So this is another one of those I'm going to follow up but non-follow-ups. Is that what you're telling me?
Excuse me?
You heard me.
How do you know I heard you?
I don't know. I don't need to repeat myself.
There's something wrong with this earbud.
You got another one.
All right, let's go on to the next question. I'm a healthcare worker and have had 3 doses of the vaccine. Should I get the bivalent Moderna booster, or am I still protected?
You are still protected, but if you are more comfortable, go ahead and get the booster.
Yeah, so Paul Offit doesn't think you need a booster, and that's why he's coming on to talk about it. So you can wait to listen to him. If you feel uncomfortable, just get it. But we don't think you need it. There's no evidence that it's going to help. Or I should say the evidence that it's going to help are scant, to which many people say to me, well, Vincent, what harm does it do? No harm, but except that it doesn't follow the science, which is what we do here on Q&A with A&V. By the way, folks, did you notice on the live stream thingy, it says now answering your questions about viruses, not just COVID. You like that, Amy?
Yeah, I like viruses more than I like COVID. It's not a virus.
No, well, we could answer people's questions about the disease, right?
I'm not an MD.
Can you be exposed to COVID or SARS-CoV-2 on Friday and show symptoms the very next Saturday? So you could be
Sounds
exposed.
a bit fast for the immune response.
Let's say you're
to give you
exposed
that.
at 1 a.m. on Friday and then you develop symptoms 11 p.m. on Saturday. That's almost 2 days. Sure. I don't see why not. It
How
is
is
a little
that almost
unusual.
2 days? That's 1 day.
No. 1 a.m. Friday. Like the
1
end of
a.m.
Thursday.
Friday?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Sure, fine. But I
Thank
don't
you
think so.
for mentioning Debunk the Funk on one of the live streams, one of my new favorites. Yeah, Dr. Wilson, that's the guy, would be amazing on TWIV. I will get him on. I've got it in my email queue, which is huge, but it's in there somewhere, and I will get him on, okay?
What a disaster.
No, I'm not a disaster, Amy. Come on, be a little fairer. Can you say a different word?
Okay, how many times is it going to take for me to remind you?
All right, here's the thing. Every week I put out a TWIV, actually 2 TWIVs. So it's not a disaster. Okay, so don't use that word. Save it for, let's see, who could we
Every
save
week
it?
you put out 2 TWIVs. Every day I do 3 trays of plaque assays. What's your point?
I'm going to lose this one. Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Thank God you finally recognized you were going to lose.
By the way, at Manchester, in the big convention center next to me, there was a convention celebrating youth. Who's the Markle Mickle person? What is that?
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle apparently was there.
She's the Princess of Sussex. She is Harry's wife.
Apparently they were both there.
Well, they were in England, and then, yes, she was not in London, or she did not go to wherever she died. The Queen died, Balthazar or something.
Balmoral.
Balmoral, yeah. which was
Amy,
in London.
who are you working for now?
I work for the FDA.
Federal Food and Drug Administration, in particular the CBER branch, which is Center for Biologics.
Biologic Review and Evaluation and Review.
She does
I have my own
experiments.
lab, so.
She's got her own lab. She's doing cool science. Plus, at some point, she'll review stuff. So you can all be safe. Leo just ordered the Spike shirt and entered Microbe TV. Thank you so much, Leo.
That's lovely.
I really appreciate it. It's just so nice. Please post the website. Okay. Vaccinated.us. I will write it here. Let me just write it. Vaccinated.us. I'll put that up. Let's make it really big. Okay. How's that? I'll leave it up there. Here, I'm going to put it right on Amy's eyes.
That's fine.
No, that's not good. We'll put it right here. Vaccinated.us and click the Spike Shop. Oh, I really like the Spike Shop. Thanks, Matt. You're so cool. TWIV is Fantasy Island. Now, this is a TV show, so it's just over my head. Do you know Fantasy Island, Amy?
I was too young.
Hello, Rob. Thank you for your support of science education at Microbe TV. Was anyone wearing a mask on your flights? Yeah, there were people. I had 4 different flights, right? Newark, Dublin, Manchester, Brussels, Newark. I had the Brussels, the Manchester, Brussels was 6 a.m. on Saturday. I got a taxi at 3:30. I got to the airport just before 4 a.m. I never saw so many people on a Saturday morning at 4 a.m. in an airport. The baggage check line was so long, I would have missed my flight if I didn't have to check a bag, right? Oh, my gosh. What a zoo. Anyway, yes, a few people. I would say, what did you say?
Lots of people traveling.
Yeah. I would say 1 to 2% of people were wearing masks on the flights, yeah. None of the attendants, afterwards the pilots came out and said hello to us or goodbye. None of them were wearing, because they're all up there in their flight deck, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I would say 1 to 2%. Here we go. Thank you, Vanity. HTTPS vaccinated.us/shop. Enter Microbe TV in the coupon field. I'm going to get some so I can contribute to Microbe TV. You want one, Amy?
Yes, please.
You want which one do you want? Let's see. How do I get this thing back? Screen share. Which one do you want? You like the dark one or this one? Gray or blue?
Well, blue is women's. No, I take a gray.
And you want vaccinated, gratitude, or just blank?
Just blank. Big
Okay.
spike.
I'm going to get
Extra large so I can make it a pajama.
Extra large, okay. I'm going to get one too, several, and wear spike. Missed you last week. My week was not the same. Well, thank you, Midge. That's very nice of you. What was I doing on Wednesday? I went to dinner with Adrian and Oksana. Oksana, by the way, is originally from Ukraine. Very interesting. My wife is 1 week out, not testing positive. How much longer can she expect to not have her sense of smell and taste?
Varies.
It really varies.
I would say 3 weeks you should have it.
Yes, I hope so. When am I coming to Australia? I would like to come within the next few years. I love Australia. I've been there once, and I would love to come back, but I'm waiting to get some invites. But yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back. Why is China still doing lockdowns? Their vaccines have not worked all that well. Plus, many elderly people are unvaccinated. So when they have a few cases, they do lockdown. They don't want any COVID. I don't think it's the right policy, but this is, they don't consult outside of the country. Right, Amy?
As far as I can tell.
Did
Kind
you
of
say
don't blame them. We weren't very nice to them.
who wasn't very nice to them?
The rest of the world, why would they want to talk to us? We weren't very nice.
Well, they did kind of screw up things, didn't they?
Well, so did we.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What are your thoughts on recent trends in transmission U.S. and worldwide?
What's the trend?
What do you mean? Oh, well, let's take a look. Hey, when in doubt. So right now, in the is this U.S.? Yeah, the U.S. trending downward. We had a peak kind of June, July, August, but and now it's going down. But probably it'll start to shift up again. And let's see worldwide. Let's see if the New York Times has a worldwide thingy. U.S. trends. Yeah, it's trending downward. Of course, it depends on your state also.
Depends on your testing.
Depends on your testing. And, I heard at this World, here's the World. I heard on, I should just share this with everyone. Let's share it. So there you go. So let's look at so here's the U.S., you see? Little blip, and now it's going down. We're testing less also. Let's take the World, latest maps and data. So there's the World kind of mimicking. There's your August peak and now trending downwards. But remember, it is here to stay, so we're going to always have outbreaks. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Leo, thank you for your support. You bought a T-shirt and now you're contributing. I appreciate it very much. Really appreciate it. And Ian says, Amy, thanks you for being steadfast that viruses don't discriminate, ergo should not, nor should healthcare providers, CDC.
Mm-hmm.
Amir says, is it possible that as time goes on, we will have new yearly COVID vaccines like the flu? Yes.
Well, that's what Fauci says.
It is possible. I think it's still early in the game, right? And as Jerry Weir said in the Wall Street Journal, this is not influenza. It's a different virus. We need to learn about it. And I think that's correct. And I think we will. And it may be, that we have yearly vaccines that match the circulating viruses. Or maybe we will find that we don't need it. I think Amy would agree that could be one of those too, right?
For sure. Kip bought Laura a pair of Rothy's and she loves them. That's great.
Should I show them my Rothy's?
For sure.
Do you guys want to see my Rothy's? Not that I wear them right now, but this was a gift of Jeff. Here. This is really funny. Do you like the Rothy's that I got, Amy?
Yeah, I picked them out.
Okay, here we go. Let's add them. Can I just do a screen share? Yeah, we'll just do that. Okay, folks, you ready for my Rothy's? Here we go. Screen share. There you go. Okay, those are the Rothy's. And mostly they're cut off. And you see I think it matches well with the Mickey and the gray socks, don't you?
Yeah, it's good.
They're black. And the Rothy's are, of course, recycled plastic. But I was getting my hair cut, as you can see. And then you can see here that I was getting my hair cut. Okay. Why do some viruses, like varicella, lay dormant and present later with different symptoms? Are there specific characteristics of those that do this? Absolutely, there are specific characteristics that, these are the herpes viruses. Varicella is a herpes virus. There are many herpes viruses that establish latent infections. And, of course, to do so, they have to maintain their DNA in the cells. They have to not kill cells. They have to escape immune surveillance and so forth. So those are all specific characteristics that you need to establish a chronic or a latent infection for sure. And if you want to learn more, in my virology course, there are 2 lectures. There's one on acute infections, which are the ones that are over in a certain amount of time. Then there's electron persistent infections, and that talks a lot about the mechanisms of persistence. And that includes not just herpes viruses, but hepatitis C virus, hepatitis B virus, even polyomaviruses, which have long-term persistence. And adeno-associated virus 2, which is apparently responsible for at least some of the pediatric hepatitis we have been seeing, that infects you at a young age and remains latent in your cells and periodically reactivates. Margot says, I remembered that about the zinc not making a difference. You talked about that research probably 2 years ago, Amy.
Could be.
And zinc makes no difference
Yes.
for COVID, yes. So I missed a question that actually I should have answered. Someone asked about, well, maybe it's coming later. Okay, maybe it's coming later. Yeah, forget about zinc. Any thoughts on Azelastine nasal spray for COVID? Do you know anything about that, Amy?
No.
It's a drug prescribed for other things. It's an antihistamine. So I would say the effect on COVID is going to be minimal. Supposed viral inhibition, but I would think it's transient. It's not going to make any difference. You need to get vaccinated or take Paxlovid. How similar would these two cases be in terms of protection? 2 doses spaced apart by 6 months, or 3 doses spaced out 28 days for dose 2 and 6 months for dose 3. Those are the 2 ways we are doing it, right, Amy? We were doing it anyway.
I guess.
So the thing is that this dose 3 in your latter scenario, that corrects for the too close spacing of the first 2 doses in terms of antibody breath. But the first, so I think these 2 would be equivalent in terms of protection against severe disease. What do you think, Amy?
Probably.
Daycare and viruses. We often hear people say they will build their immunity. Net benefit or net harm? Does SARS-CoV-2 change anything?
Positive. It's a net benefit.
I think it's quite clear that it's beneficial when kids play in the dirt. They get bacteria and probably viruses that way. Yes, I agree with Amy. And Mel is wondering what the anaphylaxis effects are with Novovax. I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything, Amy? I have not. It's being used, right? Limited, so I haven't heard anything. Amy, I'm in the Mrna trial, and I got COVID. They took a blood sample at 10 days while I was still sick. Will they see my T cells in that?
If they do a T-cell assay, sure.
Yeah, they could. You could look for virus-specific T cells. Yeah, for sure. Amy, how are the bagels in the Baltimore area?
I don't live in Baltimore, so I don't know. And I've not bought a bagel here in D.C., so I don't know.
You haven't bought a bagel in 4 months? Have you made any bagels? You've made bagels before, right?
Yes, when I lived in Chicago.
Greg says, if somebody is unsure what variant infected them in June 22, is it still smart to get the Omicron booster? The booster would give additional protection against BA1, 2, 4, 5, etc. Pointless. So June 22, what's circulating in June 22, Amy? Omicron 1,
Omicron? 2? I guess. I don't know.
And it also depends where you are, because remember, 4, 5 took over geographically. So, I mean, if you got 3 vaccine doses and you've been infected, I don't see why you need another booster, frankly. But in the recommendations, they're not taking that into account. So that's my thought. Is Dr. Paul Offit against Wuhan Omicron 45 booster for people over 60 and or comorbidity? Well, that's a good question. We should ask him that, right? I'm going to ask him, are there any scenarios where you would recommend
I think he said that
booster?
if he had significant comorbidity the last time he was on.
He would do a booster? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I think he said for like the general public, it's not required, but that there were certain outliers.
Twim needs more love. Well, Twim, I bet Michael Schmidt would like to do a Twim live stream. He would really love it because he's a character, right, Michael? Maybe he's listening.
I met him once, yeah.
Thoughts on
fine.
monkeypox trends? What's happening with monkeypox, Amy?
Well, if you don't test, you don't know.
Let's look at the dashboard. CDC has one. Oh, Ohio Department of Health. I don't want to really just know Ohio. So here, let's do the share. Can we see this? Oh, we still have our Rothy's up. Let's get rid of Rothy's. And we have to make this a little bigger. And let's close that. Okay, 2020. Monkeypox cases. So U.S., look at this, 22,000, 59,000 globally. Wow. And let's look at the U.S. case trends. But as Amy says, you know, this going down, I wouldn't look at that too seriously because, you know, there's not a lot of testing going on, right, Amy? That's the point.
Right.
So it's apparently decreasing, but let's look at globally. Here's global trends. And this is not useful because it's just dots. So we have a lot of cases here in the U.S., right? We have more than anybody else. Yeah.
We have half the cases.
And there's no graph. I guess reporting is difficult. How many deaths have there been? 19 total deaths globally. So there you go. I think it's too soon to say that it's declining because I don't think we're testing enough. I'd like to see more testing in people who aren't ill to see where the virus is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is my understanding that men cannot be tested for HPV. A partner who gets a pap smear is required. Did you know that, Amy?
I don't have any idea.
I don't see why that would be.
Well, I guess you would take the sample from the throat since it associates with throat cancer more commonly in men than in women.
So you're right, Greg. CDC does not recommend routine testing for HPV in men. And it doesn't recommend routine testing before there are signs or symptoms. Yeah. So
what is the sign or symptom? What is the symptom of HPV before it becomes before you can't do anything about it anymore?
Well, you can have a precancerous lesion, right? Which is early enough that if you took it away, it would be okay. But
maybe not.
That's a good question, Greg. I don't know when that would change to make it more accessible, but I would suspect that you could find a provider who might test for it.
I don't know that there's a test that's developed for so when you do a pap smear, all they do is they take cells and they put them underneath the microscope. So what am I going to do? Take cells from your oral pharynx and put it underneath the microscope?
No, you have to do a PCR test, but you're saying there's no PCR test that's been developed for HPV. There's no commercially laboratory diagnostic test.
I'm aware that you just a pap smear is you just look for transformed cells.
Yeah, that could be. It's most likely to be HPV, but it could be other causes as well.
Well, yes, because I have dysplasia, which is transformed cells, but they're not transformed for HPV. In London, I'm not sleeping.
You don't need to bring these up. They're going to be removed, okay? That just highlights the naysayers.
But they only just put it underneath the thing. And so when I said, there's other mechanisms of transformation,
Yeah.
the OB just looked at me like, no, there's not. And I had to pick up and leave because I can't deal with somebody who's dumb.
Thank you, Timia, for your contribution. Hospitalist doctor, I'm learning a lot from all of you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're learning. It's always good, right?
It's always good.
Amy with the FDA, that's wonderful. Save us all, please. She's working on it. Right, Amy?
Yes, in my spare time.
Does it have to be the spike shirt or can it be Vax Gratitude? Well, let's see. What is the spike shop? Is there a Vax Gratitude? Well, there's a Vax Gratitude with spike on it. Yeah, that's all fine. You know what? Just put it in your cart and type the Microbe TV
and get a discount.
No, you don't get a discount. Everything goes to us, but they should accept it.
I thought you said you got a discount.
No, you don't get a discount. All the proceeds go to Microbe TV.
Okay, fine. I misunderstood.
Here you go. Elizabeth, thank you for ordering one of each. You just put the coupon code in at the end. I think it works for all three.
Coupon code. Coupon suggests you get money off.
No, you don't get money off, but it goes to Microbe TV, which is great.
Yeah, it's good.
Simon says, China has its national congress soon, and many think policies will change after they safely get through that event. Okay.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Probably not. Hey, Amy, while walking through the West Village, I bought my wife a pair of Rothy's.
Yeah.
Because you and Laura, because of you. Oh, here we go. Because of you. Where is it?
Yeah.
Because of you. Yeah. Thanks for the recommendation. So you recommended he buy a Rothy's?
Yeah, we talked about them. They're great. I'm glad.
I like them. They're very comfortable. Really like them. Not sure I'd wear them to Europe, though.
Why not?
I don't know. I feel like I need more substantial shoe to walk around a lot through airports and train stations and so forth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Michael got bivalent booster 10 months after the third booster. Too many sick kids at the hospital I teach at, so I got nervous. However, I opened the windows and run 2 HEPA purifiers in my room. That's fine. If you're worried, you can always get the booster. But if you ask me or Amy, we're going to tell you what we think. We didn't realize we had a live stream tonight. Sorry. This is Eddie with the nice dog picture. It's okay. You're here now. Don't worry about it. Frank bought a Spike shirt. Thank you so much. This is great. Excellent.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Adults too, that play in dirt. Stacy. By the time you're an adult, you can play in dirt. But by the time you're an adult, the idea is you've established a virome and a microbiome, right? Which you do as a kid. So you don't have to play in the dirt.
Has nothing to do with it. It has to do with stimulating the immune response. Your microbiome and virome have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, they do. I think they do. Okay, I think they do, Amy.
Okay, you can think whatever you want. Next week you'll tell me I was right. It's fine.
It's okay, I get to live a week
wow,
thinking
it's
I'm
Carol.
right.
Yeah, wallow in your wrongness for all I care. Wow, Carol.
You know,
this is great.
You say for all I care, but you know you don't mean that.
Of course not.
Minervois said, I was unpacking boxes in my garage, found a second edition of Principles. It was my textbook in my undergrad course taught by Cal Reese. This is NYU. Yeah, NYU Med. No, not Med, NYU, yeah.
Undergraduate, yeah.
Undergraduate downtown. Cool. Very cool. Right? It's a treasure. Don't sell it. You want to keep that a long time. And if you ever run into me, I'll sign it for you. How about that? Is there any truth light to moderate exercise post-vaccination acts as an immune adjuvant?
Not that I'm aware of.
So I don't know any studies that have looked at it, right? But you can imagine that exercise, it causes a little bit of damage. That's going to cause inflammation, and that may act as an adjuvant, but it's not been tested. And I don't think it ever will be, because I don't think it hurts. So you can exercise. Why not? Like Amy. Amy exercises, and it has an adjuvant effect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Doreen, for your contribution. Really appreciate it. And you got the info from Daniel, and you did the right thing. It's great. I'm so glad you talked to your doc and you got treated. Way to go. Do you have an opinion on immunity debt in children? I don't know what that is. Do you? You, Amy?
No, never heard the term.
So here it is. The Lancet. Wow, it's a Lancet article, Amy. I gotta put this up. Look, quantifying the RSV immunity debt, respiratory syncytial virus. Most common cause of lower tract infection. Okay. Before the COVID pandemic, it was highly seasonal. Activity dropped shortly after the implementation of physical isolation, of course, right? Oh, and so immunity debt basically means that they missed getting exposed and immune, and so now they're in debt. So I think that makes perfect sense, right?
Sure.
Janet bought 2 T-shirts. Thank you, Janet. They're cool T-shirts, aren't they? I really like them. I'm going to do this on the next. So the next TWIV is going to be a pre-recorded one from one of the meetings I've been to. But I did tonight record a vaccinated.us ad to put in front, so people will get it. Oh, so here is another a longer exposition. Do you have an opinion on immunity debt in children not exposed to illnesses? My child has not had a cold in 2 years. We have been pretty isolated while I waited for Novovax. Well, so there are two possibilities here. One is that your child actually was infected, but it was asymptomatically infected, so in which case it's not a worry. Or because you're isolated, they didn't get infected. Now, Amy is the queen of rhinoviruses. So, Amy, what do you think about that?
Well, rhinoviruses infections that we're seeing now are more severe, probably due to the fact we are more immunologically naive.
Yeah, we have an immunity debt. Yeah. Yeah, it is a concern, and particularly for rhino, because there's nothing we can do about it. So be vigilant. Yeah. And if your child gets sick, seek medical care. Goodbye, Vanity Nutrition. Goodbye. Thank you for moderating tonight. I probably
Good luck
missed
on
you.
your quiz.
Good luck on
Good
your
luck
quiz.
on her quiz.
Very good. Rural America is in trouble. No policies at schools regarding staying home if you test positive. Most of those hope the surge in Hillybilly land is going to happen soon. Yeah, we are in trouble, for sure. We've been in trouble throughout the pandemic, and it will continue. You're absolutely right. And, we're talking about if you don't like Daniel says, if you don't like your physician, get a new one. Many people don't have that option, right? And we should have way better health care for everyone. I don't know why it has to be denied to so many people. So Liam says the cervical screening is a PCR. If the PCR is positive, then cytology is done in cells. Okay. So the PCR could be done on men as well. But, you'd have to figure out what you're going to screen, right? Because the cervical screening is you go in with a swab and do PCR.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they save an aliquot for cytology right after the PCR is done. I didn't know that. Thank you, Liam, for telling us that.
I don't know. I knew that they did cytology because I'm always told that they're of abnormal morphology.
Yeah.
So that can't be right that it's just a PCR test because I would come out negative, and they're always telling me that they're of abnormal morphology. So that's cytology. So that can't be right.
Marco wants to know if Rothy's have built-in arch supports.
Some of them do. Yes.
Do the ones I
the
have?
Boots, they have a little bit. Yes. Yeah. But the boots and stuff do. The ballet flats do not, but ballet flats in general do not.
Sam says, Ars Technica did an article on 68 with unpublished data from CDC epidemiologist Claire Midgley. Did you see it? What did you think?
It's unpublished data. How would I see it?
No, there's this article, Ars Technica did it. Ars Technica is, one of these tech websites. I guess you didn't see it.
No, you can send me the link and I can look at it.
Oh, here it is, Amy. Look. Front page. Look, I'll send it to you. But a common virus is surging and it can cause a polio-like disease in kids. So they say it's surging in several regions of the U.S. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes.
Do we have... and this is the right time of year for it to surge, right?
Yes.
So here's the epi curve of AFM, August 22nd. Do we have any AFM?
No.
None associated.
None associated with enteroviruses.
Yeah. So this is Amy's curve here because she's always showing it. Where you have 2014, 2016, 2018 outbreaks of 68 EVD 68 associated AFM, and then we skipped the year because of COVID. And now we're wondering if it will return. But so what are your thoughts on that, Amy? Do you think we're going to see a surge in AFM?
I don't know. But we definitely see an increase in circulation of rhinos and enteros.
Yeah.
Although, a lot of AFM right now or neurological complications is being caused by paraecho 3 here in the United States and other paraechos in Europe. Mm-hmm. And is leading to 45% of the cases being considered neurological complications, right?
Yeah.
So, which I think is pretty high.
While you're here, folks, give us a like, a thumbs up. We have 400 people, 190 likes. Please hit the like button. Thank you. That will help more people find us. So Stacy's still going to play in the dirt. I think that's great.
Good.
And Lori thinks it's the other way around. Cytology first and then PCR if abnormal cells found.
Yeah, that's what I think, because if you were required to have a HPV positive PCR, then I would never be diagnosed as having abnormal cells.
Okay.
Well, just think about it.
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense. Yeah. Does wearing a mask indoors protect others living with you from a viral infection, like a common cold and so on?
Common colds, rhinoviruses are not transmitted in this way. They're transmitted by touching fomites.
So if you can't touch your face, you would still not get the cold, right?
Yeah, but I don't think a mask really prevents you from touching your face.
No.
I think people are constantly adjusting.
They're always doing this? Yeah, I know. You're right. You're absolutely right. Stacy says she's always torn between outdoors and watching this podcast wins. Never disappointed. Thank you.
Great.
So much. We appreciate it. Any other questions, folks? It looks like we have reached the ends of the questions. Look at that.
Wow.
Amy and Vincent, if you're ever in Mississippi, let me know. I can treat you to gumbo and fried catfish. Sounds good. I was in Mississippi years ago.
Yes, you have a cowbell.
So what school was that? Do you remember?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Right. So they gave me a cowbell as an award for a talk rather than a plaque. It has my name on it. And they asked me to ring it in the front of the audience. It was really funny. Do you remember there was a time on TWIV where they said, we need more cowbell? It's a thing from Saturday Night Live, right?
I don't know. I never watched Saturday Night Live. But okay. It's past my bedtime.
Saturday Night Live? Why, it begins at
Yes,
11?
it's past. I don't know. I don't know when it begins.
And this is also funny. Does building sandcastles versus mud pies have less an effect on building immunity? Yeah, I think there are less viruses and bacteria in sand. Don't you, Amy?
From the ocean? Not necessarily, but maybe human bacteria and pathogens, yes.
Yeah, I
Fish,
think
no.
not for fish, but fish don't get the opportunity to play in the sand, do they?
Guess not.
Thoughts on COVID becoming less affected due to herd immunity? The problem with herd immunity is that if a virus undergoes antigenic variations, you're not going to get very good herd immunity, right? Because any immunity you have will just be circumvented by antigenic variation. So I don't think it's a problem there. For COVID, for SARS-CoV-2, we're just not having it because of antigenic variation. Liz passed the TWIV link on to my doctor friends. That's great. Hopefully they'll appreciate Daniel's clinical updates. And Amy, this is for you. What's the significance of the 2-year 68 cycle? Does it show immunity which contracts over that time?
I don't think it shows immunity. I think it identifies a naive population. It doesn't have any immunity. And then you see it because you've hit in a certain level. You've hit a certain number of people who are immune naive.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know that we can say anything about the durability of immunity because it can vary from like 16 months for certain rhinos to lifetime for polio. So
Yeah.
it's a long difference in between. So that's part of my research focus, right, is to understand the durability of immunity.
Indeed. Right. This epic Saturday Night Live, more cowbell. I remember that. And I remember the Cowbell TWIV episode. That was a long time ago. Yeah, Lori, you've been listening a long time. It was.
Mm-hmm.
Steph is leaving. Thank you for modding tonight, Steph. See you next week, hopefully. And Kang says, are replication errors in RNA viruses random, or is there a pattern for certain RNA viruses such as poliovirus?
I don't know what reverting to previous serotypes means.
Forget that part. Just do the first part. What do you think?
I think they're hotspots, sure.
So it's not random.
Not 100% random.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not 100% random. The actual number is not clear, but there are hotspots for sure. But it's not influenced by selection, right? It's not influenced by environmental conditions. The mutation rate is a function of the polymerase for the most part, correct?
It's an inherent property of the polymerase.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Thank you, Leo. Good night, and thanks for your support tonight. Really appreciate it. We had a lot of questions on currently circulating viruses and kids in immunity debt. If you had the option, would you send your child to daycare?
Yes.
Yeah, I would send my child to daycare. And just, be vigilant. And if they start to show signs of illness, bring them to a physician and figure out what's going on so that you can, not necessarily treat it, but just observe it. Now, here we have a question that Amy and I will disagree on. Do you believe oncolytic viruses will be a major strategy for dealing with cancer in the future? What virus? So Amy doesn't think so, and I think so. I think it's going to revolutionize cancer treatment. So let's make a bet now, Amy, and then say in 10 years we can review this and see who wins.
Oh, you're never going to pay up when you lose. You're going to say, I don't remember.
No, this live stream will remember. This is a
Fine.
record forever. I will bet a case of some good red wine. Okay, what do you want, a Barolo?
Okay, sure.
That oncolytic viruses will play a large role in curing many cancers. Which viruses
Okay.
should be explored? So a number of them show a lot of promise. Measles virus is one, herpes virus, adenoviruses, even vaccinia virus, even not polio. I think polio is a no-go. Although now, Amy, that we're not going to eradicate polio, maybe they could use polio as an oncolytic
No,
virus. No?
no, it wasn't really so successful.
Anyway, there are quite a few viruses, Mahin, and I think it's early. It's too early to figure out what's going on. You
What are
know,
you talking about? They've been doing this for 25 years.
you need a lot of years to make a new therapy work, Amy. I would say that that's an unfair criticism. Look at that. I made her laugh.
Okay, well, call me back when
Anyway,
it's
so we have a
35.
bet. A case of
Okay,
Barolo,
fine.
okay? And
Okay,
it's recorded here
I'll
on the
tell you
slide.
where you should be delivering it. When I buy my brownstone in DC, I'll give you my address. You can have it delivered there.
Okay, and I won't say I forget, Amy. I promise, okay?
It's okay. I don't mind. It's fine.
What do we know about this year's flu strains and how flu went in Australia, New Zealand?
I do not know. Although I work in the area of virologist, I have no idea.
So let's see. Well, this is the U.S., so I don't know about what happened elsewhere. The U.S. vaccine has been updated. I don't know about down. It's vaccine strains were selected by CBER.
Yeah, I know.
Did
They're
you know
selected
that?
by they're selected by my neighbors. Yes.
Composition, here we go. They're selected, vaccine strains were selected by the FDA's Vaccines and Related Biologic Products Advice. That's not you, that's not CBER, right?
That's part of CBER, I believe.
No changes were made to H1N1 or B Yamagata. The H3N2 was changed to a Darwin-like virus and another one for cell-based. B Victoria was changed, etc. So there have been some changes, okay? They have some nice, let's see, do they have the graphs here? No, this is a CDC. Let's look at FluView. FluView is great. Have you been to this FluView, weekly U.S. Flu surveillance? They have wonderful. So this is the flu story here.
Okay, I'm listening.
This is 2021. So here's week 48 and week 50. Week 50, that's the end of 2021, right? And so you can see the flu season winding down. And then 2022, week 6, and it's I don't know, this decrease here is really weird. Maybe it's from some distancing or something that was going on, because usually it just keeps going up and then comes down. This is week 28, week 30, and so forth. So this is 2022, and you can see, this is a typical flu curve. I want to see if we have some. It mostly looks like H3N2, right, in red there. It's a weird biphasic curve. This is the one that's important, outpatient respiratory illness visits. So 2021, 22, these are the red here. And so you can see some seasons have been worse. This is the 2009 pandemic season, which was a lot of outpatient visits. So more than this, although this is not an unsubstantial one, but it did go down. So less serious disease than we thought. So that's the way it is in the U.S. I don't really know what's going on down under. I'd have to go look it up. Sorry, Pete. Maybe we do another time. Have you heard anything about the bivalent booster effectiveness? In terms of preventing severe disease and death, I've heard nothing. No. Have you, Amy?
No.
I'm hoping if someone has taken 4 shots, is a 5th recommended if high risk. That's what Amy said, Paul Offit said, that high-risk people should get the 5th. But no information yet on effectiveness. Maybe we'll get it. Amy, why Do we not have a vaccine for rhinoviruses?
Too many different serotypes.
How many?
More than 160.
And so you can't make a vaccine with 160 serotypes?
Probably not.
Why?
There's probably doesn't elicit good immune response against each serotype, just like the trivalent polio didn't elicit a great immune response against 1 and 2 when they added in 1 and 3 when they added in 2, so you got 3 shots and then 2 boosters. So it would be hard to do that, to assess that.
Could you find a common protective antigen for all 160?
Yeah, it's part of my research program.
I think you should be heavily funded.
Well, one would have thought. Apparently, the NIH doesn't do a lot of thinking.
But you're going to get people to come work for you. I know it.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm excited. They should be excited. I'm looking forward to having people come and do lots of experiments and work on different projects and see how they grow. Have them take them in their own direction. They don't have to take them on mine. But yeah.
CDC says over 40% of hospitalized had boosters. Right. So these are people with over 75 with comorbidities. Yeah. Yeah, it's a problem.
Okay.
But Daniel says if you catch them early with Paxlovid or monoclonals, they won't end up in hospital because those drugs have a very good record of preventing hospitalization. But you have to catch it early. You can't wait.
So let me get this straight. So we have greater than 40% of people over 65 in the hospital who had boosters with COVID. And if we didn't have any boosters, how many would we still have? Would we have more than 40% of people who are hospitalized with COVID?
Good question, right? I don't know the answer. But
I don't understand
now
this point.
Here's the problem. First of all, hospitalization isn't an accurate
No, I know what the
metric,
problem
right?
is. I understand what the problem is. I just want to know. So what I want to know is if you didn't get vaccinated, would 100% of the people who had COVID in the hospital be unvaccinated?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I don't even understand. So first of all, I don't even understand the statistic. I think the statistic is ridiculous. So let's
Why is
move
it ridiculous? Why is it ridiculous? I'm just curious. Why is it ridiculous? Because I think it's not appropriate either. It's not a good metric.
I don't think it's a ridiculous. I think it's I don't even know what a metric is, but I think it's a ridiculous statement to say that 40% of the people in the hospital had boosters. Number one, you have no idea how many. You have no idea if they're there for COVID or not, but that's irrelevant. If I then went into a population where there was no vaccine, 100% of the people in the hospital who had COVID would have no vaccine. So what are you telling me? You're telling me squat shit.
I think
You're telling me squat shit. So we should move on because this is a dumb statistic. It means nothing.
Well, it's from CDC, okay? So this is important.
Well, they do a lot of stupid stuff that means absolutely nothing.
People need to understand why it's a dumb statistic. Saying let's move on is not helpful to them. We have to explain.
Okay, well, it's a dumb statistic because I went to a hospital in an area where people were vaccinated, and for whatever reason, 40% of the population had boosters. I go to another area where 0% of the people are vaccinated, 100% of the people have no vaccines. So what is the point of this?
Good.
It's just a reflection of the environment that you live in. So I don't see why we're going to spend 45 minutes trying to understand what it means and interpret when it means nothing. It's just a reflection of the population of where you took your sample.
We're not spending 35 minutes. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. But also, one final point here. I want to know how many of these people end up dying. That's the metric I want to see. And I bet none of them die, or very few of them die, because the boosters protect them. And getting in the hospital varies according to where you are. if you're old, people
Right,
worry. Let's put you
exactly.
in the hospital to make sure you're okay. Whereas maybe some, 10 years younger, they wouldn't do that. So,
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying is that this is it's not a particularly helpful statistic. And just because it came from the CDC doesn't mean it's well thought out.
oh, I agree with that.
Okay. Like, it's like when my mom says, well, you should go get this test because the government pays for it. I'm like, Mom, that's not really a scientific or a medical explanation. She's like, well, the government put it out there and said that you should do it. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's not always the well thought out plan of why we should do it. Like, there, like, so
Your mother said that
there's lots.
after having talked to you for so many years, she said that.
Yes, she says it quite frequently about various things that
Maybe
I'm
she
supposed
needs
to do.
to watch this live stream.
No, my mom does not need to watch this live stream. Thanks.
Okay,
I
because
don't
then
need
she'll
any
call
more
you
yelling.
and yell
Yeah,
at
I
you.
don't need any more yelling at me. I have
I,
enough from you.
I haven't yelled at you in months.
Oh, so you say.
How do you think advancements in Cryo-Em would affect virology other than just protein structure determination? Amy's going to use Cryo-Em in her projects.
Yeah, but it's just it's determining where the antibody sits. It's not affecting virology in any other fashion. I heard this woman talk from UC Santa Cruz who told me that cryo-EM was telling her how the virus evolved. I was like, really? That's very interesting. I wonder how you deciphered that. She was like, oh, it tells you about virus evolution. I was like, really? Did it talk to you while you were taking this picture? Hi, this is my good side. Don't take from that side. It's like,
So
didn't really
you
understand that.
think Cryo-Em is just about structure determination? I mean, you can make conclusions from the structure, but it's all going to be in the end about structure determination, right? Correct?
You can't really make any conclusions, right? You can say it binds here,
Yeah,
and is it going to tell you that it blocks receptor? No, you have to do the competition experiment, right?
correct.
Is it going to tell you that it expands 4%? Yeah. Okay. So you can see the conformational change. Is that going to say to you that something about evolution of the virus? No. It's going to tell you what you bind and the antibody did this or the antibody didn't do that. But it's a snapshot. I think people forget it's a snapshot in time. That's all it is.
It's a good question, though. It's a good question. Amy, have you seen How to Survive a Plague?
What is it?
I don't know. Let's look it up. How to Survive a Plague is a 2012 American documentary film about the early years of the AIDS
Right there, no. It's a
pandemic.
film, right? It's a film. It used the four-letter word film. No.
What's wrong with film, Dr. Rosenfeld?
I have no patience to sit down and watch films. You know that. You know how I watch films. I turn them on and they're background noise for doing other stuff. I don't always listen and focus. Come on, you know this about me. This is how I do
I
everything.
thought you liked Breakfast at Tiffany.
Yeah, I do, but it's still background noise.
How about Charade?
Yes, I do like charade, but it's still background noise, just as To
Okay.
Catch a Thief is background noise. I don't
So you don't
actually
sit
really sit
down.
there.
You don't
I
sit
don't really
down.
sit for more than 40 minutes, for more than
Okay.
30 to 20 to 30 minutes.
So you didn't see this Survive a Plague? Because I didn't either. No. Okay.
No.
Do you recommend it, Patricia? All right. So Kaz looked it up. There are two different tests: the Pap smear cell changes in the cervix, or cervical screening testing for HPV. So now we went from one sequence to a second sequence to separate tests. Amy, okay?
As I said, a pap smear is cytology, right? Then I was told I was wrong.
I didn't say that.
No, Liam did.
Thank you, Ramanan, for your contribution to science education. Really appreciate it. Ayush, how do you choose the literature you read? So I choose a lot of literature I read because nowadays I'm thinking of what's going to be on TWIV. So I'm looking at it with an eye for what would be broadly interesting for our listeners, or to try and understand something. If something comes up, if an issue comes up, say here on a live stream or if on TWIV, I want to understand it. I pick the literature to do that. I'll bet Amy picks literature relevant to her research. Right?
Sometimes. Most of the time, I pick literature to read that it sounds interesting. The abstract sounds interesting, like a question I didn't know about.
Amy's a voracious literature reader.
So, like today, I was talking to somebody, and his wife works on mastocytosis. I didn't really know what that was. Actually, he didn't even know he didn't use that word. And then I looked it up, read some stuff about Kit.
Could you comment on the prospects and challenges of a universal influenza vaccine? So this is another one where Dr. R and I disagree. Dr. Amy R disagree. What do you think? What are the prospects of a universal flu vaccine?
45 million to 1.
Wow, that's a pretty precise number there, Dr. Rosenfeld. 45 million to 1. So the paper we did on TWIV a few weeks ago was really interesting, showing that, you can identify an epitope that's broadly neutralizing, that induces broadly neutralizing antibodies, but not everyone is going to respond to it because of genetic differences.
As I said, 45 million to 1.
Really interesting. So
yeah, I know. I picked that paper.
So the challenges are finding epitopes that people and getting people to respond to them that will induce broadly neutralizing antibodies. And that's hard, not just for influenza virus, but other viruses. You'd like to make it for others. So I think it can be done, and it may be that we don't have the approach right now that's going to work, and people need to keep hammering at it. The problem is, Amy, that when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Did you know?
Good thing I don't have a hammer.
Angus is in Shanghai. Wow, good morning, Angus in Shanghai. What kind of weather you have there? Why are there so few viral vectors? Well, not so few. We have adenovirus, we have AAV, we have retroviruses, we have measles, we have VSV, we have herpes viruses. Some people are using pox viruses. There's a lot of choices you have there. So I wouldn't say there are few. Are we in healthcare going to have to mask for the medium and long term? Yeah, I do think so, until we get a handle on this long COVID issue, which we don't have a handle on at the moment, among other things, and how well the vaccines are going to work. Because with influenza, we didn't have to mask, right? So I think it's going to be some time.
I don't know if I would have used we didn't have to.
Flu?
Yeah, I don't think I would have said we didn't have to. Wasn't a topic right? That was... Well, it wasn't a top... It didn't... Well, we didn't doesn't mean we didn't have to. We didn't because we didn't think about it. That's a separate issue. If we had thought about it clearly, I'm sure that people would have.
I think you're right. If Ira is going to Asia, should I get vaccinated for dengue?
Depends on where in Asia you're going.
If you're going somewhere where there is dengue, so there's just one dengue vaccine, Dengvaxia so far, right?
Yes.
Which, if you're under a certain age, it's not recommended for you, correct?
Yes.
Because it causes more severe and under a certain age, and I don't remember, but I assume you're not under that age, Avara, so yes. Although Billy says you can't get the vaccine if you haven't had dengue because it increases your risk, but I'm not sure that's true for all ages. I think it's just for kids. Until yesterday, we were still masked in shops and schools in New Zealand. This should have an effect on flu. It sure would, yeah. And then right now they're in winter, right? Down under, yeah. Linda, thank you for your contribution. I had my third Moderna vaccine last October trying to decide about the bivalent booster. Would you recommend it? I'm hoping I still have T-cell protection. Unless you have...
Sure.
What's that?
Unless she has a T cell deficiency.
Yeah, you should. You should still have T-cell protection. And I think that's one of the arguments for why what you have already is good. Now, again, unless you have comorbidities. If you're over 70, 75, have comorbidities, we don't think you need to get it. Is it possible that the mRNA vaccine for Nipah could protect against Hendra? I think it's possible because the Hendra glycoprotein vaccine, right, the purified glycoprotein, protects against Nipah infection. So the two glycoproteins are very close, right? So yeah, I think it's possible that this would work if you had an mRNA vaccine for Nipah. Yeah.
I don't think it has to be an mRNA vaccine.
It doesn't have to be. No. Amy, Tom likes what you said. Yep, it's part of my research program. Yep. I like it too.
Yep.
Ronald, COVID symptoms began August 28th, tested antigen positive the next day, tested negative September 7th, absolute worst throat ever, no other symptoms. By day 14, I felt 100%. I would say that this is a classic case of uncomplicated COVID. What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, sounds that way.
And Australia, according to David, has had its worst flu season in 5 years. Are we surprised, Amy?
No.
Because of lockdowns, right?
Yes.
And so what month is this? September? So we're going to be starting in a month or two here. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
Dr. Vincent, your courses were amazing. I remember listening to them during the pandemic. I'm glad you found them useful. It's great.
Yeah.
Patricia works with almost all high-risk patients, multiple comorbidities, mostly middle-aged to older, haven't had a death in a long time, nearly 2 years. Well, that's great. Vaccines work. The vaccines work. Yes, death from COVID, she means. I got it. And Amy would agree with this. The CDC is aggravating. I'm putting words in your mouth.
It's fine. Whatever.
Yes, and Tom says criteria for hospitalization may vary. Absolutely right. Amy, we need to go over this. Some of us fans of TWIV are engaged with anti-vaxxers and vaccine hesitant. We need to have good counter arguments. Yes. So that's I agree with you, Ronald. I think Amy gets it too. Polio and now EV68 going wild. Oof. Are they going wild, Amy?
I don't know. Are they found in the jungle or safari, or are they having wild parties? I don't know.
So
I don't know. They don't talk to me. And if they did, but why didn't they invite me to the party?
The CDC says 68 cases are on the rise. So that's where going wild comes from, because every newspaper is now covering it, every news outlet. And then one case of polio in New York, it's going wild because now it's in sewage. So now it's in Long Island sewage, right, Amy?
Yes.
So we have New York City, we have some upstate New York counties, and we have Long Island. When are we going to find it in New Jersey?
When you go to Bergen County and sample some sewage.
It'll be there, right?
For sure.
When a new virus is discovered, how do we know what sequence to look for? If there are millions of unknown viruses, how do we isolate? P.S. Amy's always on point with her realism. You bet. So, Amy, if you have a person with a new illness, how do you know what new virus they have? How do you know what sequence to look
sequencing.
You do shotgun sequencing, which means you sequence everything, right?
Yeah.
And
use random hexamers.
And then if you get all these sequences, you're going to have the human sequences there and other things.
You subtract them out.
You subtract them out, and then you have a big spike of one thing, then that's your virus. And then you look in other patients. You make probes and you look in other patients. Would you agree, Amy?
Yeah, pretty much.
How's the air conditioning doing down there?
For some reason, it's turning on. It's too cold.
I'm looking
I
for
mean, you
some.
shouldn't have to have a fleece and over your cashmere sweater. It's kind of overkill.
When do you shut off the air conditioning?
I don't know. I don't
Um,
know how to open the windows.
Matt wants to know, I'm looking for suggested reading on how HLA and MHC select the protein fragments to present the T cells, trying to understand how 8 to 10 peptides is enough. Well, that's the size of the binding site on the molecule, right? And
Yes.
MHC 1 and 2 are slightly different lengths. There are plenty of good review articles on that, Matt. Can find some if you send me an email,
By
Vincent.
January.
You could buy Janeway, the book, or just find a review article, or you want a suggestion, Vincent at microbe.tv. I'm a second-year bioengineering student. I'm working on a model for delivery of an oncolytic virus, wondering what virus to model. I read VSV and Mrna are rather effective. VSV is pretty good. I would do VSV. Yep. And Kaz says, Australian 2022 flu surveillance stats, 217,000 cases, 1,700 hospitalizations, 288 deaths. So that doesn't seem like a lot, but I wonder how it compares to previous seasons, right? That's the key. And yes, the universal flu vaccine issue that I talked about, driven to immunodistraction, TWIV 931. And I used as a biotech postgraduate in biotech. My master's was to improve manufacturing of adenovirus using Cryo-Em. Interesting. So improve manufacturing by looking at the product and seeing how to get it better. That's interesting.
Yeah, you get rid of all the defective particles. You look to see if it's pure, one size, blah, blah, blah.
Pete's pondering the best date to get this year's flu shot. Northern Hemisphere, October is good. Yeah, if you're not over 65, October is good because you're going to have less durability if you're older. Is there a vaccine for Nipah being tested? The Nipah vaccine is that's being tested by CEPI is the Hendra glycoprotein spike purified. It protects against Nipah. I think it's in phase 2, if I'm not mistaken. CDC issued a health advisory notice for EVD 68. Yeah, Amy saw that, right. Virus has gone wild. I can't decide if that sounds like a good T-shirt or not. I kind of like it. Do you like the ring, Amy?
Yeah. It's like Girls Gone Wild, yeah.
So what's the thing we got about you a couple of weeks ago about Material Girl, Technical Girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to make a Technical Girl T-shirt. I'm a Technical Girl.
I'm good with Black Essay Princess.
Okay, I started wondering whether other rhabdos would have the same effect. Why do you think engineered lisses haven't been used? Because I think VSV works very well. Unless someone tries it and shows it's better, no one's going to use it, right? Yeah, here's a joke. Heard of new variant? You always test negative and have no symptoms. Morris, thank you for your support. Appreciate it. Always appreciate your support. Diane, thank you for your support as well. Currently, no citywide lockdown in Shanghai. Just got to the lab. Terrible virtual private network, though. We'll have to watch this later. See you, Angus. Go get some, do some plaque assays, okay? How you doing there, Amy? You tired?
I'm fine.
Just 12 more minutes, depending on questions. We've reached the end of the questions. 412 people, which is not bad for a Tuesday night, Amy. What do you think about that?
I think it's good.
Well, it looks like we're finished,
So,
folks.
do you want to wrap it up?
Unless there's another... Here, let's do this one. Keeping ethical and biosafety issues aside, is current understanding of virology and synthetic biology enough to create a novel virus from scratch? Nope. Nope. Not possible. And Amy would agree.
That's true.
What do you think of the Tal 1100, 9, and 20, 30, 10 antibodies for COVID that may eliminate a need for boosters? These antibodies won't eliminate a need for boosters because they only provide temporary protection, right? So it's very different. So I don't think that's appropriate to think that.
Nope.
Thank you, Sid Arthur, for your support. Really appreciate it. All right, folks, I'm going to let Amy go early tonight because she looks tired. She probably needs to eat dinner. Right, Amy?
I do. I do.
I want to thank all the mods tonight. We had Steph, we had Les, we had Tom, we had Vanity Nutrition. Thank you all for moderating. Thank you, Amy, for joining us again tonight, as always.
It's good.
And
good.
thanks, everyone, for coming tonight, bringing your great questions. Next week, we will be back on Wednesday, the normal night. And until then, stay safe and bring back your questions. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Good night.